Crap. Hang on. There we go. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Go Hunt, reformulated for 3 times the flavor and 6 times the calories as your old hunting podcast. Fresh off the new diet, we have Sam Alexander sliding into your DMs for brown recipes.
No, slide into my DMs.
Oh, slide into his DMs.
Yeah, there we go.
Vince H., who survived but is dead. Mike Gonsalves, who's chasing that dragon. And I'm Dave Packard, pheasant mentor and companion. I should have mentioned that.
I'm not the normal kind of a dead, like the kind where I'm gone. I'm just dead. Mike's the real kind of dead right now.
So,
Dead, bro.
I thought it was chasing the dragon's tail.
What?
I thought the phrase was chasing the dragon's tail, not chasing the dragon.
I thought
you
it was
just
heroin.
You're trying to catch the dragon. You can never quite catch that dragon.
Yeah, I thought the heroin reference was chasing the dragon's tail, but I mean, who knows?
Oh, well, regardless, he is at
I'm not
Starbucks listening to other people start their laptops because he does not have one.
I thought he was at Starbucks, chubby chasing, but
I mean, ¿por qué no los dos?
Wow. Well,
He's like,
alrighty
hey.
then.
Hey, I dated a girl and she liked those caramel macchiatos a little too much. That's all I'll say.
Oh, dude, white chocolate mocha. That's the only way to go at Starbucks.
I mean, imagine getting fat off of something that causes diarrhea.
Hey, it happens.
It's a skill.
It's just a milkshake with a little bit of coffee added to it. What do you want?
I want a venti, extra shot of espresso. Oh, were you actually looking for my order or? Wait, Mike, he's at Starbucks right now. Mike, he's probably listening.
Need a vanilla latte.
I'm just gonna need a tea Earl Grey hot, and that'll be the end of that. And a white monster.
I love those videos of those girls that order like an entire paragraph of ingredients and then it gets thrown in their face in the drive-thru.
I have not seen this.
It's hilarious.
I mean,
I know it's satire, but it's still funny. They're like, "Thank you," and it drives away with like coffee face on.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? No, you may not.
Vince, where the fuck you been?
I was dead.
I thought you were dead now.
Dead. I'm still dead.
Oh, you were dying.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I'm tired because I've been working a lot for reasons and stuff. But I was gone last week because I was out hunting.
Sorry. Mike might listen to this later. He might not. But all I'm going to say is that was the moment where Mike would have pushed you on. What's your job? What's your job? What's your job, huh?
No, he would have just said his job.
And just doxed you.
Yeah, I know.
We love you, Mike.
We miss you.
Say it.
Okay. All right. I'll actually launch into some stuff because I got a lot to talk about because I did a lot of stuff while I was gone. Because it all seemed to fall like right in that zone. So I did everything that I basically had planned for the year in the 2 weeks in between shows. So I had my controlled hunt. Like the last time we recorded, the day after that, I went to my controlled hunt, which was just one day. And it was in a wildlife management area. It's about 10,000 acres. And I get there early in the morning. Now, this is a rifle hunt. It's for deer. And the requirement is the limit is 2 deer, one of which may be antlered, but the first one you shoot has to be antlerless. So just keep that in mind for the entire hunting story going on here. But I get there, when it says to get there at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like the last person in line because everybody's lined up to check in, and it's just a 1-day hunt. So you have, I think they hunt this area with rifle for like 5 days, and you put in for the individual days, and you can only draw one of them. So I guess it's just to get as many people a chance as possible. But whatever, I get there, and there was a long line, and I finally get up to the front, and I'm expecting like some kind of spiel, like, this is kind of what we're looking for, and there's extra opportunities, or look out for pigs, or shoot a coyote or something, and you get like a quality pass where you automatically come back next year. And they gave us absolutely no information. They're just like, yep, got you checked in, have fun. I was like, all right, well, here we go. I did a bunch of e-scouting. I didn't actually make it out there to scout around prior to. But this was on I'll back up a little bit. This was on the Lexington Wildlife Management Area. I'll just go ahead and say it. There's no reason not to. I mean, it's all controlled hunts for rifle anyway, and it's not like it's a secret.
Catch my honey hole.
It is not a honey hole. Let me tell you what. I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't get it. So I had kind of two spots picked, one south of the road and one north of the road. And the south of the road, I decided to go there first in the morning, and there was a spot on a gas easement near a creek. And I was like, okay, I'll just wander down in there and sit down and see what shows up. Now, keep in mind, I got to shoot a doe first, or antlerless. Not doe, but I can also shoot a button buck. As long as it has less than 3 inches of antler sticking above the hairline, that's antlerless. So I can shoot a little buck too if I want.
Yeah, it's 5 here in Colorado. So familiar.
Is there a reason for that?
It's for identification purposes. As far as I can tell, it's just so that there's not a problem when someone shoots a small buck and thinking it's a doe, and then that's their buck tag.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically
Yeah.
it's just them making sure everyone punches their doe tag first and doesn't.
Well, it's for identification purposes and the fact that like sometimes it's hard. Now there are hunts like when I did the McAllister Army Ammunition Plant. They're like, this is not antlerless and antlered. This is buck and doe. You shoot a button buck that you think is a doe, that's your buck tag. Sorry, buddy. And so you got to be real. They're like, yeah, used to, we didn't let you have any kind of optical sights at all, like range finders, binoculars, nothing, because it's a sensitive area.
Yeah.
But then they're like, yeah, we want you to be able to look at the deer real close and make sure it's got nuts or not. So, bring your binoculars.
That's another thing too. There are hermaphrodites with deer. Like,
yeah,
there has been deer killed with does with antlers. So, like actual fucking antlers, not just nubs, but
the McAllister Army Ammunition is tangent, but they used to have it blacked out on Google Maps, but they no longer do. You can actually look at it on Google Maps anymore. But anyway, oh yeah, okay. So down up there at Lexington, I decided to go to the one place along the gas pipeline first, and I go back in there and I sit down and can't see very far because it's grown up a little bit, but I'm like, okay, I can see a little clearing to my left and I can kind of see out in front of me, so I'll just sit here for a while. And after about 40 minutes, off to my left, I hear a grunt, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. And out steps a little buck. I'm like, hey, well, crap. So he wanders by. I don't see any does near him. I get up and I wander around over there. I actually got video. I climbed up in a tree, and I'm just kind of standing up there in the tree looking around, seeing if anything shows up. I'm up there for maybe 40 minutes, and I decide to climb down, and I'm halfway down, and I look over to my right, and there's just another little buck standing and staring at me. I'm like, well, you can just go away now because I can't shoot you. Um, I ended up spending the early part of the morning over on that side of the area where I was looking around.
Mhm.
Did not see any does, so I decided to head back to the van because I took the van because I'm cool. Headed back over there and got a little something to eat, and decided to go look at the second spot that I considered, which was north of the road there, and it was across. So there's some fields out there that they cultivate for food plots, and it was north of a food plot. And on the map, I could see that okay, the creek runs north and south, but there's a branch of the creek that heads off to the northeast, and north of that looks like another field. And I thought, okay, so you got these two water courses coming together, and there's something on the other side of it that looks interesting. Well, what I didn't know at the time, it looked like another food plot, but it turns out to be like tall grass, like short grass prairie, or no, tall grass prairie. And I was like, okay, so this is a bedding area. But I didn't know that at the time. I was just going to go over there and look around. So I crossed the food plot, which is covered in tracks, but nothing's out in the middle of the day. It's a little hot still. And I get kind of up to where I think I'm going to cross that creek, and I look to my right, and there's another hunter at the end of the field over there. And I'm like, "Oops, well, sucks to be you." And I take off to my left to head away from him and go cross the creek. And I get over to that creek, and what I thought was a stream on Onyx is a 12-foot wide, 10-foot deep washout.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it had rained. So this is a Wednesday, and it rained about 8 inches that Monday. Now, I'm standing there thinking like, okay, so I'm making a good decision, because I doubt anybody is really going to cross these, especially when it's been really wet the last couple of days, because there's only about 4 to 6 inches of water in the bottom of this thing. But I could tell that at times it was full, like straight ass full of water. And I'm like, okay, so if there's anything over here, it may not have crossed this for a little bit, and it may not have been disturbed on the other side, because it's got water on two sides, and it's another mile to the nearest road on the other side of this. And I'm standing there thinking like, okay, how am I going to cross this washout? And I look across, and strutting in front of me is a little button buck across the creek.
Mhm.
But there's too much brush in the way, and I'm trying to look through it and around it and find an opening, but I can't quite find a spot. And I'm like, dang it, because that little button buck is my ticket to an antlered tag. Okay. And there was actually the one instruction they gave is like, it was just on a piece of paper on the door whenever we were checking in, and it said, first tag must be antlerless, doe preferred. Like they wanted you to take a doe, not a little button buck. I'm like, sorry, buddy. But the deer struts off to my left out of sight, and I can't see it. And I'm like, okay, I need to get across. I'm trying to decide, do I want to go along the creek on my side and see if I can get a shot at him, or do I want to cross the creek and see what happens? And I decide I'm going to cross the creek. I'm going to find a way down, and I'm going to climb up the other side because it's really freaking steep. And as I'm thinking about that, here walks by another little buck, but he's decently bigger. He's a little 6-point, except he looks over and sees me. And so he's just standing there staring at me. And of course, I'm doing the whole thing where I'm looking kind of down to my right, so I'm not looking him in the eye and freaking him out. And I swear I stood there for 5 minutes while he did the stupid thing where he, wangles his head around trying to see what I am and figure out what I am. And he finally decides he doesn't spook and jump and run off, but he does turn and go, I'm going to go back the way I came. So he heads back to my right. And I'm like, crap. So I really quick scuttle down and up the other side. And I start kind of just poking my way through the brush over there. And once I get over there, I notice that, okay, the trees right here are kind of open on the other side of this line of brush. And I can get in there and kind of just see, I can see kind of 40 yards in one direction and a little bit in the other direction. And I'm standing there looking around, taking in the area, and I take 2 steps to my left and I notice movement in the direction that little button buck went. And I'm like, well, crap. Wait, he hasn't busted me yet. And there's something I noticed about especially young deer and does is they're more social creatures than, say, older bucks. So I've actually in the past, I've shot 2 does within 5 minutes because some were crossing in front of me, and I shot the second one in line. And the first one ran forward, and the third one ran back. And the one that ran forward just could not stand not knowing where the other one was, and decided after about 10 minutes to try and cross back over and find the other ones, and ended up getting shot for it. Well, kind of the same thing happened here where that little button buck didn't know where his buddy went that was following him and was a little bit spooked and was trying to figure out what was going on. And I'm standing there, I can barely see him. I can just basically see shadows, like the shadow of him barely moving back and forth, trying to see what I am because he saw me move, but also figure out where his buddy went. And eventually he can't stand it and decides to cross through the open area. And that's when I was just sitting there waiting for him to cross. And I actually got this on video. I think I sent that to you guys, but it's not very good because it's, GoPro and it's zoomed all the way out. So you can't actually see the deer in it. But I did get that on the GoPro, and I shot him at about like 20 yards. And I did the thing again where I forget that mechanical offset is a thing that exists. So I ended up shooting him just a little bit low. So it took him just a shade longer to expire, but he kind of just stumbled off to my right and laid down and expired. So I got the first tag and I'm like, yes, here we go. I can go find me a buck to go get once, because I just sent the guy a text message with the picture of him, and he said, yep, you're good to hunt your second deer. I was like, all right, cool. But okay, before I get there, we need to go over getting that deer out of there. Because I am on the other side of this washout now, and I'm not dragging this deer through the red mud that is in the bottom of this creek. I'm like, well, I got this new pack. I'm going to just pack this whole deer in here because it's not a big deer. It was not a big deer. I shot the baby, okay? And I am okay with that because they're very tasty. And I get this deer in this pack, strapped down, and let me tell you what, if you're not in shape to carry a heavier load, there's not much that's going to help you. But there's also poor planning, because I got this deer in the pack. I got the pack on my back. I got me stood up. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go down in the washout and scramble up the other side. Well, except there wasn't a good place to scramble up the other side because the way I went down was not doing it. And I start to realize I don't have this pack quite set up correctly. It is sitting way too low on my hips. And it's just like, I cannot get it tight enough at the belt to keep it up. And I cannot tighten it anymore at the shoulder because it's already up to my neck. And it was just a it was not comfortable. And I also think I realized I probably should have packed the deer itself higher in the pack. It was sitting really low and putting a lot of pressure down there on my hips. And I'm in the bottom of this washout, and shut up, Agent E.
He ain't got no hips.
But you ain't got no hips, Lieutenant Dan. Anyway,
sorry.
Thank you. I know that.
I'm down in this washout, and I need to adjust this pack, but I'm also not interested in setting the entire setup down in the mud. So I'm like, I'm just gonna try and get out of here somehow. But I kind of start to realize I'm stuck down here. Because there is not a good way up. It is very steep, and the ways down, like the deer are, you can see that they're going down, are like straight up and down. They're just kind of they're not taking the easy path at all because there's not one. So I decide I'm going to walk down the creek until I get to the other creek and then walk down to the road, and hopefully there's a way up easier at the road. So I'm sloshing through the mud at the bottom of the creek, and I go down as far as I can, and there's a log jam that I cannot climb over or go under. And so I end up going back up the creek just a little bit and find a somewhat less steep spot. And I slowly, meticulously, it probably took 5 minutes to climb this creek bank, like one little move at a time, grabbing roots and things of that nature to pull myself up, and like throwing the rifle up onto the creek bank so that I wasn't bothered holding it. But yeah, it was a gigantic pain in the ass, honestly, and it's the most difficult recovery of a deer I've actually ever done.
I have thoughts.
Go right ahead. You just jump right in.
Okay. In your discussion of climbing out of your sunken creek bed there, Good Mike actually gave me a grappling hook, like a little takedown grappling hook that you could tie paracord to. And I was thinking, what the fuck would I ever use this for? And now I have a situation.
Yeah. You know what I should have done? I had an entire block and tackle with me. I should have just swung that freaking deer across the creek. Like I should have tied it around its neck, and I should have crossed the creek and tied up the block and tackle and just started and just drag it on over. But I was like, I'm gonna put it in the pack and walk around with it like a goober. It was not a long walk. It was maybe a quarter mile back to the car, but having to go down in the creek, and of course it's muddy in the bottom of the creek, so I'm like, pulling myself through the mud down there, and then trying to get up from there. Montana Dirt Road says, I fell on my 308 doing something similar. My end result was having to buy a new scope as I took a fall and landed on it, breaking the scope. I managed to not fall down. I got close several times. And I was carrying around the shooting sticks I made for the boy, and I'm really glad that I took those shooting sticks with me, because they helped a lot on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Walking like an old wizard through the woods with a dead deer on my back. But I got the deer back to the van and went back out and saw absolutely nothing for the rest of the day. So that one ended on a disappointing note. Looking back, I went back to this area where I shot the button buck, and was like, I'm gonna go find his buddy. I should have gone back to the area where I saw that deer earlier, because I'm pretty sure that buck I saw, I saw the deer twice. I think it was the same deer, and I bet he was still catting around over there. And I bet I probably could have gone over there and like just started grunting, and he probably would have come out like, "What?" And I could have gotten one that way. But I made my decision, and I then the moment of truth came. So we had to stop at the office, and they did a weigh-in on the deer.
Can we guess?
Oh, go ahead.
Dressed, right?
Dressed, yes, field dressed.
Okay.
And it did sit in my vehicle for 7 hours. So it spent some time drying out too.
I'm going to say 67.
67. 57 pounds.
Oh, I win.
I shot the babiest of deer. And yeah, the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna pull the jaw to age it. There's no need." I'm like, "I know."
Yeah, it's 6 months.
Yep. Totally. For
The spots
comparison,
just wore off.
we had one of my dogs fixed on Monday, and he weighed in at 102 pounds at the vet. So
Jesus.
I got a dog that outweighed that deer. Live weight, that deer probably weighed 75, maybe 80 pounds. And I got a dog that outweighs him by a decent amount.
Did
Like, I
you
should
look
just
just shoot the dog and
I just
like,
eat the
what?
dog. Yeah.
Should have brought some lead weights with you for that weigh-in.
We got weights and deer.
Oh, but anyway, that was the controlled hunt. I was hoping for a little bit more from it. I was hoping to get the 2 deer out of it, but apparently there wasn't a whole lot. The success rate wasn't that high. It was like maybe 20%. And I think one guy got both tags filled while I was there on that specific day. So I don't feel too bad about finding one. And I actually saw a number of deer, and it was pretty cool. I love hearing deer just grunt out in the wild. And it just seems like they don't do it everywhere. Like some places I go, like I will never hear a deer just grunt. And I don't know.
I don't think I've ever heard a deer grunt.
Really?
No, I mean, muleys don't really do anything, and I'm not around a lot of whitetail.
So that's probably a proximity thing too.
I think
because where I was hunting them, like, so that one hunter I saw, like across the field over there, he's maybe 100 yards away. He sees me. He had to see me go into the brush at the creek, and then 10 minutes later heard a shot.
God damn it.
Yeah, so he's there sitting on the field, like trying to, take a shot across the field or something. Like I just wandered into the brush and sat and stood there very still, and then shot a deer. Which it's kind of what you do around here. I will say, this last 2 weeks I made a pretty good run. That rifle that I had used, that I never shot anything with, that was my first AR, I finally put some bodies on. I killed that thing with that, and that's actually what I had the Gideon Guardian on. So I got to put some miles under that thing, and I do have some thoughts on that now, but I'll save that for later. From there, the next week, I had the camping trip with the boy, and I went down to Three Rivers down in southeast Oklahoma. And backing up a little bit, back in October, I went and prepped my campsite down there and made a nice little spot to sleep on. And it was just as dry as could be down there. And I don't know how that affected things for this hunt, but I have to believe that the deer weren't quite spread out yet, maybe, because the deer were a little bit there was not a lot of deer in the area that I was at. So the last 2 years, I'd kind of hunted the same spot and put a blind up there last year and saw a bunch of deer and heard a bunch of deer. I think I maybe saw or heard half a dozen deer the entire time I was there this time around. But so we got there on late Saturday night, got camp set up, and then we went and hunted that spot the next morning. I will say I finally figured out our sleep system and how to not freeze to death at night. And I put the boy in his own freaking sleeping bag and put in double sleeping bag the thing. And then on the one night that it froze, I bought those like hot water bottles and boiled water and put it in there and put it down in the feet of our sleeping bags. I had 2 of them. And it was actually freaking hot at first. Okay.
What temps did it get down to?
It got down to it. The coldest it got this time was right at 32 degrees. But having a double sleeping bag and that hot water bottle down at your feet, I was like, okay, this is a bit much.
What are your bags rated to?
One of them says it's rated to 20.
But that's not going to keep you warm at 32.
I don't know if that's a comfort rating or a survival rating. I'm thinking it's a survival rating.
It's usually survival ratings.
Yeah.
Because they can make it look better. Because like my 30-degree bag will keep me warm in like 40 degrees. It's usually about a 10-degree difference with my bags.
I thought it was about a 20.
I don't know. Mine are like a 10. My 10-degree bag will keep me pretty darn warm up until it gets to about freezing temperatures outside, and then it starts getting really cold.
Yeah, I need to invest in some of the actual
like 0 freezing. At 32, my 10-degree bag will be like I'll have an arm hanging out of it.
Yeah, but we were nice and cozy warm this time around, and I had the sleeping pad figured out and not deflating in the middle of the night. Though I was actually proud of the boy because he got tired of trying to get dressed in the tent. And he's like, Dad, I'm just going to go get dressed outside. So he just took his clothes, threw them outside and stood out there in the cold and got dressed. I was like, hey, good for you. I'm going to get dressed in here.
That's good for him. I was very glad to have the tent stove and somewhere warm to get dressed in because I'm too old for that shit.
To be young.
I'm intrigued by that. But I think at some point soon, I need to get an actual tent that you can kind of stand up in that is in fact a 4-season tent that is solid sided and holds in heat somehow. I think I could probably get by with buying like a temporary garage shelter thing for like your 4-wheeler and just putting that up.
Mm-hmm.
And sleeping in that. Just find a 6x8 one of those and use that. Let me check my show notes and what I had. Okay, so another thing, it seemed like there was a lot more hunting pressure than I'd seen in the last couple of seasons. Like a lot of people running around doing stuff to the point where I was getting kind of annoyed because people were driving down in where I was hunting and parking on an unmaintained road like 40 yards from where I set up the blind. And like one guy did it twice and I don't think he ever saw the blind like 40 yards from where he was parking his truck. And the thing with it being an unmaintained road, that if you park up at the beginning of it, you can hunt all the way down there. It's all huntable because the road is unmaintained. You can load your firearm and wander down in there. But people were just wandering down in there in their trucks and parking is absolutely as close to where they wanted to sit rather than hunting the whole woods. It's like
Was
isn't
Mike
that
in
the point of a
Oklahoma?
blind? Yeah, isn't that the point of a blind? Yeah, I put up like orange ribbons all the way to it so that people could see like something's over here. We were actually getting ready one day up at the top of the road, and a old man drove past us and drove down in there, and we're walking down in there after him, and he's getting out of his truck and trimming branches along the road, and he goes and he parks right there. He's like, y'all going past me? And I look him dead in the eye and I was like, I have a blind 40 yards that direction. And he just looked aghast as if like,
you don't hunt on the roadside?
You don't drive is absolutely as close to where you want to sit as you can.
Well, he was going to cover his truck with branches.
I have a blind question.
Yeah.
Here in Colorado, if you use a blind, you have to have orange on 4 sides of your blind during rifle season. Is that the same down there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you have to have like an orange 1 foot by 1 foot square panel. I think it might be 10 by 10. I can't remember, but you have to have orange panels on 4 sides.
I have not read anything like that. That does not. I have to be wearing orange. We have to wear orange in the blind, but I don't remember reading anything like that anywhere.
Neat.
But I had the blind. Well, actually, the first day we went down there and hunted, we kind of walked down an old trail by the creek, and we're walking down in there, and suddenly we hear a loud boom to our right that seemed like it was right there. And apparently somebody across the creek shot a deer, and it was close enough to us that we heard it jump and run and fall down. It was like, that sucks. And that's the only deer I heard actually along that trail the entire time. And normally I hear and see a bunch of them. And even the there were scrapes, but they hadn't been tended very recently, and the entire time we were there, nothing was tending them. So it's almost like we weren't getting any rut activity at all. And one day we were walking down a road, and up this old road comes a truck, and it turns out to be a local guy, and he's like, yeah, they've kind of been this area right around here. There hasn't been I haven't seen as many as I have in years past. I'm like, oh, that sucks. He did tell us that like right over the mountain behind us, he had a black and a cinnamon phase black bear on camera though, which was cool. But so we got the blind set up, and we sat there for about 3 days and never saw a single deer in that blind. We did see we did see a bunch of turkeys one morning. And going back to the day before, we got out of the blind in the morning and went to walk the other direction up the creek. And we're walking down the trail, and we kind of go off to the left, and I'm looking at something, and I start to walk back to the trail, and I hear something jump in front of me. I'm like, well, crap, there goes a deer. And I peek around the tree, and that deer is not running away from us. It is running directly at us down the trail at full bore. And I'm like, crap, I have no time to actually get this deer in the sights, in the scope. Yeah. This is the only time I have thought, like, I wish I had left that offset red dot on this rifle, because that would have been the perfect time for the offset red dot, because all I did was lean back into my right and try and like hip shoot this deer basically. I shot over it.
So anyway, I started blasting.
So yeah, I turned and I tried to, just aim a shot into it without, because it ran 5 feet away from us at a full run.
That's
and
what bayonets are for.
I thought about it, like, I wish I'd had a spear, because it probably would have worked better.
A rope, a fucking pistol
to lasso it.
Well, out enough stick.
You know, on character, it was not a big deer, so I probably should have just grabbed it.
That's gonna be your.
You're
I only kill the small deer.
Yeah, last
You're good.
episode I was on, I wanna shoot a big deer, and he never shot a big deer again.
He's like,
You're
I'm
gonna
going
look
for a
at me
record
now.
small deer.
I might have shot a record small deer.
He likes them suitcase sized.
Anyway, I missed the deer, but my son's like, Dad, you should make sure you didn't hit it. Like, so I like, okay. So I start walking back up the trail the direction it went to make sure there's no sign of it being hit. And like, I was pretty sure I shot over it. And he's back behind me about 20, 30 feet or so. And suddenly he goes, Dad, there's a wolf. And I'm like, there is not a wolf in southeast Oklahoma. He's like, okay, it's a big coyote. And I'm like, why didn't you shoot it? He's like, yeah, he was kind of frozen because he didn't expect that.
Because
But
he thought it was a wolf, and he's like, if I shoot that, I'm going to jail.
nah, he should have shot it. But
Wolf scary.
I started to realize, okay, we had heard coyotes while we were down there at night, and we had actually heard them at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the guy I talked to, he's like, those things are thick around here right now. And I start to think like, okay, so these deer are being run constantly by coyotes. There's not a whole lot around here. There's and
God damn it. You beat me to it.
Agent Entropy congratulates Vince on his son not being a natural born ATF agent.
so
We don't
anyway,
just
I
shoot
started
them.
blasting.
Anywho,
It was coming right for us. Where was I going with that? Anyway, so we start going forward a little bit. I missed that deer. He didn't shoot the coyote. We get up there about a 30 feet more, and I hear a deer jump in front of us and blow and run off. And the only reason it did that is because my son was over there talking in his normal voice and, just creeping along. We didn't bump it or anything. And just kind of a little note here, like I'm hunting with a suppressed AR-15, right? 2 minutes beforehand, I had shot at a deer as it ran by. A minute later, a coyote wanders up to us in that exact spot. And 2 minutes after that, we wander up to a deer that only runs off because the boy's chattering at me. So, like, that's kind of what you get if you're going to hunt with the suppressor, because it doesn't scare things the way a normal gunshot does. Even though it's still loud, even it's still 130 dB, but it's just not quite the same. But then the next morning, so we didn't see anything else, that day, didn't see any deer or any more coyotes. But the next morning we go back to the blind and we're sitting in it, and we're there for I think it's 7:45 in the morning, and we both hear the telltale footsteps. And I hear them off to my left, and it's the exact same place a deer came down last year that I shot, except it's a coyote. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to get this coyote. Except, so do y'all know that thing where you're driving down the road, but you need to see where you're going, so you have to turn the radio down so that you can see?
Yes.
All
That's
the
the only
time.
way I park.
Or
Yeah.
backing out of anywhere. Yeah.
So I'm trying to shoot this coyote, and suddenly the boy is in my ear going, Dad, there's two of them. There's two of them. Dad, there's another coyote. There's another coyote, Dad. And I'm like, suddenly can't see. And I missed the chance on the first coyote because I'm distracted. And another coyote comes down, and I'm like, whatever. Crosshairs on fur, pull the trigger. And he disappears. I'm like, okay, now where's the other one? And I kind of look up the hill in front of us, and I kind of see movement, but that one decided that he had somewhere else to be. But so the boy's like, Dad, you gonna go see if you got it? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there. And I go out there, and this is big ass coyote. Like it was a big one. He probably weighed 40 pounds. Like I couldn't lift him,
almost as much as your deer.
No.
God, that was fucked up.
No. You know what the boy was doing? He's like, Dad, don't you think we should keep the meat off this coyote? I'm like,
You're like, be my guest, son. Here's a knife.
ugh.
Watch out for the plans.
The green cheese.
We hadn't killed anything else so far. We'd been out there 2 days, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking the hide off this coyote. So we sat there for a little while longer. I went and dragged the coyote back. I went out there, found it. It dropped right where it was, and I dragged it back and set it by the blind. And we sat there for another hour and a half. Another note: 45 minutes later, a bunch of turkeys wandered up. So that's another thing back to the suppressor. Like I had just shot a coyote, but turkeys just wandered over anyway. And we sat there for a while longer, and I just took the coyote and I tied it up to a tree so that I could, get some leverage on it. And I just start skinning out this coyote. And I don't know what the odds are of us both shooting like the prettiest coyote in the world.
Fucking right.
A week apart. But there was not a single tick on this coyote.
Yeah.
I saw not a single flea on this coyote. And not the least bit of mange. Oh, and by the way, I ended up shooting the smaller of the two coyotes. That's the other thing with the like the deer being harassed by the coyotes. Like these were some big coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
One of them could easily handle a yearling deer. Two of them could pull down an adult doe, but I got him skinned out. I think I took too much of the cartilage off the ear because I cut through it, and I needed to just cut it off the skull. So the ears are kind of ears a little floopy. But I only ended up nicking the hide once, which I was kind of pleased with. Hold up. Talk to yourself for a second.
I was wondering how good of a sense of humor he has right now, because
yeah, I see you over there. I see you over there with a Cheshire Cat grin on your face.
All I have to say is the smaller of the two coyotes, huh?
We have a trend. You're also muted.
I'm sorry. I got bumped at the.
Yep.
Oh no!
You did.
That's the wrong microphone.
Wrong one.
We need the little technical difficulties sign, like be back in 3, 2, 1.
Error 404. Mic not found.
Error 404. Mic not found. Clearly, he's not here.
Like no. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're better.
Yeah, the one that came through first was the bigger of the two, and it was also like gray and old, and got away again, and I hate that. But I found this new knife on eBay, this new old knife, which matches the one I've been using for a number of years, except this is the bigger model. This is a buck, 537, the Skinner with the gut hook. This is S35 VN steel, and these went for like 130, 140, and someone was selling one for $60 on eBay, and I'm like, I take.
Fucking sold.
Yeah, but that did real nice skinning out the coyote. Like just took the skin right off. Having a nice sharp knife for skinning is just fantastic because it actually keeps you from cutting the hide more than having a dull knife.
Yeah.
But we got it skinned out. I got it washed off in a creek pretty well. and rolled up and stuffed in the cooler with the ice blocks, and now it's sitting in my freezer waiting to be worked on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same.
yeah. And we did see some other deer. We did a lot of walking. Like, we didn't just go out and hunt in the morning for an hour and a half and go back to camp and sit around and then go back out for a couple hours in the afternoon. No, we would go back and eat, and then we go out, find some place, walk and look around, and we hunted hard the whole time, and we saw maybe half a dozen deer, and only two that could, the one I shot at, and then we were watching one across a drainage for about 20 minutes trying to see if it would come out in the open enough to get a shot at, and it never quite did. I could have maybe taken a shot one time, and there was a 2-second window, and I wasn't comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about it. It's a lot of pressure from people, a lot of coyotes running around. Rut didn't seem to be going very hard I thought it should, and that was pretty disappointing. And then we came back that night, and then Thursday morning I went and sat out behind the house and shot a little 6-point that wandered by. So yeah,
A little one, huh?
when he walked up, see, I was sitting out there, and I decided that I was going to shoot the next deer that walked by. And up comes this little 6-point, and I decide, well, I told myself what I was going to do, so here we go. Actually, I thought it was a 4-point, and I also thought it was much smaller than it actually turned out to be. I thought I was going to shoot the second smallest deer in Oklahoma.
You're all disappointed. You're like, God damn it.
I was just like, it's like that Skeletor meme where he's like, he sighs and then just zip,
This is my thing now. All right, fine.
Like, yeah, I shot him, and then I just sat in the stand for like 15 minutes, like contemplating life. Yeah. Went back inside first, and my wife was like, "Hey, can we all go out there with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Because I watched him run over and fall down. I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I needed to go find him or anything. And I get out there, and it's a nice sized little deer, actually. And it probably weighed, 120, 130 pounds. Just had a tiny, actually, I've got the little, rack right here.
He's teeny. He's so cute.
Yeah, it's the prettiest little 6-point. Yeah, he dead now.
It's like, someone took an actual, nice large rack and shrank it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like.
Just small.
So yeah, I got that, and I decided, actually, because he was right next to the house. Oh, another fun thing. I went out there and gutted him, and I had the kids holding the legs for me. And then my son was like, "I'm gonna drag him back up to the house." I'm like, "You know what? You go for it. If you have fun." And sure enough, my 9-year-old dragged this deer all the way back up to the house by himself. He was a little winded afterwards, but he did it. I didn't have to drag the deer. I was like, "Hey, this is kind of nice."
Good job.
And then he strung it up too, because I just have a hand crank winch up there that I crank him up there with, and he slipped the noose around its neck and cranked it up there. I was like, all right. Well, while he was doing that, I decided, like, I'm gonna find me some casings out of this gut pile. So I took the heart, I cut the heart out, and I gave that to my daughter, had her take it inside. Which for some reason she was like, "I'll carry it inside, Daddy." I'm like, maybe. Okay. But I actually managed to get the so with the the little button buck from the week before. I tried to look through and find where the small intestine was and take it out of there, and I could not figure it out, honestly. And I actually figured it out on this one. It is not what it looks like. So you look at the gut pile and there's all the stuff that's like looks like, the scrunched up worms. That's not the small intestine. That's not what you want. That's part of the small intestine, but the part you want for casings is actually like runs along that and is not like squishy looking. You got to it's kind of hard to describe, but it's almost like there's like a bunch of worms stuck in between two sheets of paper, like a long worm stuck in between two sheets of paper, and it's all just like flat there. And that's the small intestine, and that's the part you want to pull out. So I pulled that out, and I got that washed up Thursday afternoon, and that is also sitting in the freezer. Along with, I went ahead and took the brains out of this deer, because I did not take the brain from the coyote, because for some reason coyote brain just seemed like something I did not want to mess with.
Yeah.
But I have taken deer brain before and done the tanning with that, and I decided like, oh, I can just take the brains out of this deer so that I can maybe use it on this coyote. So I might use that for the tanning of the coyote hide this coming winter.
Have you seen that trick at how to get deer brains out in like 0.5 seconds?
This feels
You
like a
take-
joke. Is this a joke?
I shit you not. You
This sounds
take,
like a dad joke.
a blower
Remove deer
with your air
brains. It's one
compressor,
simple trick.
and they got that pocket on the back of their skull, and you
Uh-huh.
just stick one in there, and the entire fucking thing just plops out. You just psst, and out it comes.
Just out the nose?
No, out the other side.
Oh.
Like there's two pockets on the back of the skull. You stick the air chuck in one side, and the brain comes out the other. And
Oh, yeah.
it's like no work. There's no hooking, no fucking nothing.
Well, I wanted this little nonsense, so I just took a Sawzall and ran it down the top of the skull, and
that makes sense.
it worked pretty well. I listened. Okay, so I listened to y'all from last week, and you tell me the whole like air compressor trick with the coyote hide, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. But also, like, who thinks of that? But we just blow up the coyote and see it float away. Anyway,
And the next beaver I shoot, I want to give it a shot.
Did you see the video I sent?
I did not
see this the skin separate off the face of that coyote, and I had it in its leg. It was just like peeling skin off its forehead down its snout.
The whole coyote just starts expanding. I'm waiting for the thing to explode in the video.
I wasn't worried about that. Just don't give her full bore, because if you do that, then you just get nothing but coyote juicy face, juice gas in your face, and that kind of stinks. Beaver queef. Jesus
Ireland says skin with compressor, flesh with pressure washer.
Yeah.
That's probably I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll do that one.
I'll have a pressure washer.
He says beaver queef. You.
I'm going to write it down, even though we can't use it.
There's so many entendres. But I got all the meat processed out. It's all ground up and in the freezer, and I got I'm actually looking forward to messing with I haven't messed with an animal hide in probably 8 years, so I'm looking forward to the coyote. This one should be it's a pretty floofy coyote hide, and I'm actually pretty excited about that.
Such floof.
Yeah, it was longer than like my truck tailgate. Like
I saw the picture.
To the nose. He was a big boy.
I'm jelly.
It was a male. Yeah, I'm betting the other one was a female and needed to die more. So
the main takeaway there is shoot both of them next time.
Yeah, I need to need to talk to the boy. He did the same thing with the deer that we saw across the drainage, because we're walking down there and I see a couple others further up and they run off. But then we're sitting there and he goes, "Dad, there's a deer. Dad, there's a deer. It's running up right there, Dad." And like suddenly I can't see. And also, like, I think I need my glasses updated. It's been 9.5 years since I've had this prescription updated, and
Probably.
I just I think I'm gonna get the surgery, honestly. I just don't want to spend money on glasses ever again, and I'll just have the laser surgery instead. But I just need to fit that into the budget somehow.
Well, I'll do it for about $350. No
What kind of laser
guarantees.
you got?
I'd have to reorder one from China, full
Is it
power.
a D-ball?
No, but my actual laser for night vision is civilian safe, but I had a Chinese one that was not eye safe at all. That one would give you ad hoc eye surgery, so we can do this. We'll start off with short bursts, and then you can look at the eye chart, and we'll fine tune from there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Where'd Dave go?
he's back.
Oh, there he
I'm
is.
right here.
All right.
Hello.
Well, that's what I was doing for the last couple of weeks. I don't know that I have a whole lot left this season because I'm working 6 days a week. I've only got Sundays. And there's one Sunday of rifle season left, and then I can still do crossbow after that, so I'm not super concerned, but
Nice.
I still need to I still need a couple more deer to eat for the year.
Well, I'm glad you got some deer.
Very nice.
I got me some. I need to post up a bunch of pictures to Instagram. Actually, that rifle I used had the Gideon Guardian. I think I mentioned that for all of those. And I will comment on it. I think I just hate second focal plane.
Oh, yeah, you have the 1 to 10, huh?
Yeah. I don't mind the reticle. I want it to be first focal plane. That way, when it's on like 1 or 2 power, it's just like a little dot out there, and you're not doing anything precise. But on that first deer, I forgot about mechanical offset and shot low. But then the second deer, I had it on 3 or 4 power. And I'm like, oh, the deer's kind of close, so I'll aim here because the bullet's still rising. I remembered about mechanical offset, but the subtension in the reticle had changed because it was on a lower power than top power. Like if it was on, it was first focal plane, I wouldn't have to think about it. And I ended up shooting a little bit high on that one. And, wasn't bad, but it was just like, it was a little high, and it took a little bit longer for the deer to expire because it was a little bit of a high shot. So
real quick, can you explain mechanical offset to those that do not know?
Mechanical offset is the fact that your scope is higher than your bore, and in order to zero your rifle, the barrel is basically pointing up in relation to your line of sight. So the bullet rises as it leaves the muzzle because it's pointing up slightly, goes up until it crosses your point of aim, and either continues arcing up and then crosses your point of aim again, or you can have it set up to where it crosses your point of aim once. But if you are too close to something, the bullet is still rising. So if something was at point blank range and you just aim directly at it, you would hit 2.5 inches low.
Okay.
So at 20 yards, you're still hitting 2 inches low. And of course,
a lot of guys will when they go sight in a rifle, I used to do this. They would sight in at 25 yards and they would cross the plane, and then at 100 you'd be damn close, and as it's like coming back down. I don't do that anymore, but if you are dead nuts at 25, like with a 30-06 or something. If you're dead nuts at 25, then you'll be damn close at 100 just in the arc.
It matters how high over the bore your scope is, because if
Yes.
the scope's mounted pretty low, you could zero at 25 and you might be pretty close at 100. But if you have an AR and you zero at 25, you're crossing at 25 and then at like 350.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're 3 inches high at 100 yards or something ridiculous.
Dope
So,
that.
I do a 50-100 zero, because with most rifle cartridges in that mid velocity range between 2,600 and 3,000 feet per second, if you zero them at 50 yards, they'll be on at 200. Though for this particular hunt, and so I asked Bob, sent me a printout of all the actual subtension values of the reticle in the Guardian at max power, so that I could match that specifically to the load that I was using. And it just so happened that if I took my ranges in meters instead of yards, it matched up better.
Oh.
So I just ran with it in meters rather than yards for this go round. But
That's a good little point there.
Meters.
It's our distance, comrade.
Yeah, I'd love to see that reticle would be perfectly usable, and if it was first focal plane. I still don't like BDC. I'd prefer just straight up mills, but yeah.
At second focal plane, there's not a lot you can do.
Okay.
Besides like a crosshair.
Here's where
really.
second focal plane is useful with a BDC. If the max power is low enough to leave it on max power most of the time, unless you just put it on a bot like the lowest power so that you can walk around and have quicker shots while you're moving. And then if you sit down, just put it on max power.
Yeah.
So 4 or 6 power for max with a second focal plane is perfectly usable, because those still give you a wide enough field of view to be used quickly. But 10x is a little bit too much to just leave it there all of the time.
All of my second focal planes, I just dope the scope anyway. There's no point in using BDC.
Yeah, so. BDC, well, and especially for like hunting, because the BDC is useful if you're engaging like silhouettes, like man-sized silhouettes, because you're just trying to get a hit, but there's not enough precision there with the BDC to target an animal's vitals at the distance that the BDC is useful for. I had already decided if I had to shoot anything beyond 300 yards that I was going to dial the scope.
Yeah.
Because I was going to, there just wasn't enough fine aiming points down the BDC to aim for, heart lungs. It's just too chunky. But
well, that was fun.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. Do y'all want to go read Mike's show notes verbatim again?
Oh, again?
Oh, did he update them?
No.
I think it's new.
I don't think so.
No, that's the same.
It's the same, okay. But we could do it in an accent. I'm kidding. Let's not fucking do that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. We need an iceberg, matey.
No, you got to do the British one. 2 weeks ago, duck hunting with a chicken friend, beef curry cap. Like,
first off, theme is more optic. Why? Sunday, the theme was wind and icebergs. Bugged out, went to the road to hunt the river. Only a few flocks, with 2 other in sight of a few anglers.
The theme was I was bored, so I drove the river.
Ah, boy. I haven't
Yeah.
been up to much. I'm leaving to go to Texas on I shouldn't actually. No, this will publish after I'm getting back. I'm leaving to Texas on a specific day on
To do stuff and things.
to shoot crane and geese
Yeah.
with that shotgun that's always up behind me. So we'll stack. Supposedly we're gonna do the same order as last year, which is 1 day of geese and 2 days of crane. We'll see how it goes. I like shooting lots and lots of geese.
Mhm.
Either way,
like-
I think the limit for dark geese is like 10 off the top of my head. I don't know.
I
I'll
cannot
shoot until they
remember.
tell me to stop. That's the that's the joy of paying for a guide service. I don't have to think about it. I just do what I'm told and shoot things and drink beer afterward. So that'll be fun. I
I'll
always like
be
that.
expecting crane livers.
Oh yeah, crane livers, you'll get them. I gotta figure out. I looked at the weather. I think the weather's supposed to be pretty good.
Do you
So,
ever eat the deer liver,
Me?
Dave? Yeah, you.
Oh fuck yeah!
yeah,
Oh,
liver
man.
eating plow guy over here. He eats everything's liver.
I just didn't know you did. Okay, I'll
Mhm.
save it for you next time.
Oh man,
We fed it to the dogs.
you. I bet they ate real good.
They like it.
Yeah, it's because it's delicious.
I don't think I prepped it right the one time that I did try to make it. I didn't get all of the like sheathing off the outside of it. And like
Yeah, that'll do it.
and also it's got like little holes in it that are like vascular tissue that
Hmm.
need to be
Yeah,
cut
that's
out
just
as well.
chewy bits.
Yeah, the chewy bits. I didn't like the chewy bits.
The first time I cooked up anything to do with beef heart, I did not get enough of that vascular material out. Yeah, it is pretty chewy.
Yeah, I got the heart right. Oh yeah, I kept the heart on both of these because I missed the heart. So I got to keep the hearts on this one. The boy, when he shot his, it freaking obliterated the heart. Nothing left of it.
Hmm.
No food there. But
Well, the other thing I picked up here recently, and I might be able to go set out a trap line on Friday. Might. We'll see. I got predator bait and bobcat gland lure. I can't wait to find out how bobcat gland lure smells. It's gonna be fantastic.
It smells like cat piss.
But I'll haul my 4 cage traps up there because I hate this state. But I'll set them out and maybe we can turn something up. Between December and January, my goal is to catch a bobcat.
I asked
and
my
eat a
buddy.
bobcat.
I asked my buddy if he had his bobcat trap still, and he's like, "Nope, got rid of them, and gave them away or some shit." I'm like, "Well, god damn it!
Gay.
Otherwise, you'd have bobcat traps going back with you with your crane and geese,
Dang it.
right?"
If I knew how to weld, I might be able to build a couple of them, but maybe next year. Yes, I know, Dave.
Hmm.
But we'll worry about that next year.
Yeah, that's fine.
But,
Well,
yeah.
I had the youth pheasant hunt for Pheasants Forever this weekend, and it was a pretty good time. We went to the new range here by me, and it's where all the 4-H kids do all their shooting sports, and then now that our high school has shooting sports, that's where they do all their stuff. And they've got, I mean, it's still half-ass under construction. They're still trying to set everything up. They've got a trap range and a skeet range. They don't have sporting clays yet, but I think we had 9 kids sign up this year, which was pretty low, I thought. But
Mhm.
there's some fucking shooters in those 9 kids. There were some kids that had never held a shotgun and they were still hitting clays, so that was awesome. But no, there's some kids with. I was looking at their shotguns, like, well, son of a bitch. Now I feel poor. But no, we shot trap all morning, and then ate lunch. We cooked burgers, and then we went out to set birds. We buy birds every year because we want to know that the kids will have something to shoot at instead of just like walking a tree line hoping that there's pheasants, even though there's not many pheasants since our blizzard in 07. So we go set birds, and there's two guys that they're not locals, but they're buddies of locals, and they had a couple dogs. So they got the dogs out and they'd flush birds, and one of the dogs was a puppy. The other one was like an 8-year-old dog that was a fucking phenomenal dog. And
Hey, can we go back for a minute?
uh-huh.
I'm just looking back through the chat. Agent E said, Hill People Gear makes a jacket with a coyote ruff. I think you can send in your own pelt to have them make it into a jacket.
No.
That is intriguing.
It is.
I mean, I was just going to wear the pelt around on my head like a skinwalker. But that sounds...
Mm-hmm.
Dave,
Mm-hmm.
should get matching jackets.
We might have to. I'm gonna need a couple more coyotes over to you, but
See, I was just gonna get a cloak and then wear it like a mantle over that, because
you'd be like 101 Dalmatians, but
101 coyotes.
Wild dog. But
after the
anyway.
coyote hunt this winter, we will all have to have
We'll get
stylish
stocked up.
furs.
I
Anyway,
bet there's some nasty bitches in those.
Wear them to Trader Joe's.
It's faux fur. But we got 30 birds. We bought 30 birds and 3 chuckers. He just threw in 3 chuckers for us. We're like, cool, I guess. But this puppy, he was doing good for a little bit, and then he got into his puppy stage of just running the fuck around and just flushing shit. I'd see him run towards a bird that I set, and I'm like, oh no. And then I see my bird take off. I'm like, well, there that one goes, I guess.
So I shot another dog this weekend.
But we did 3 groups of 3 with the kids, and it worked out great because we had an adult with every kid, and it was just like walking them through the steps of like how to walk in a line when you're following a dog, keep your muzzle towards the sky with a shotgun, set at the ground because you'll point it at the dog or everybody else. And if the dog points on something, how you pivot your line and looking for like exit routes wherever the bird's going to end up going. And of all the birds they flushed out, they killed all of them. So that was pretty impressive. There, and like I said, there were some kids that had never held a shotgun that actually shot a bird too. So that was they were fucking pumped. It was a good time. There's a couple birds that we got some pictures of that, like 12 gauge at 7 feet with 5 shot does not do great on pheasant, but they're just in the mind of like kill it, not wait for it to get out there for a minute. They're just like bird, boom.
I can't blame them.
Yeah, they got that reaction time. Why not use
exactly. Yeah. One of the dogs ended up going into the creek and then following through the ice. So that guy had to go down into the ice, like nipple deep, and get his dog out. He's like, that is the 3rd time I've ever gone into a pond after a dog. And he was fucking soaked. Like, had to change clothes at the pickup and everything because it was not warm. And I mean, there was ice, so it was fucking chilly. But dog was fine. Hunted the whole rest of the day, and got all the pheasants skinned out and everything. Kids took them home. The proudest punch. So that it turned out to be a really, really good day. the first time I helped him, it seemed kind of hectic because we had like 8 kids on the line, and it was just bum, 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 bum. It was a there was a lot of shotguns waving around for like 3 or 4 adults. So it
Okay, that was my question. How many
yeah,
adults were there for this?
it worked out fine the first time we did it, but it was way less stressful this time just because of it was a different area that we were hunting into. It was in a drainage. So there we didn't have enough room for we might have fit 4 kids and 4 adults in there, but it had been tight. So it worked out. It worked out great. But yeah, we did have one chucker that was no longer like anything resembling a chucker because he was one of them. He was one of those really early birds. But he flew out a little bit, and then like 4 kids or 4 people shot it. Because like, all 3 kids hit it, and then another adult hit it, and it was just bum, 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 bum. Like I bet it flew under the power of shotguns for another 10 feet. Like was dead, but just kept going. So it was a good time. But the day after that, my daughter's deer season opened up. And it was her first time deer hunting with a tag. She had gone with me a few times, but it was like when it felt convenient for her. So she drew this tag, and it's her tag now. And so we were up bright and fucking squirrely, and she was not a fan. But we were, her bus driver had told her that he had been seeing deer just on the north side of our house. I'm like, well, we're going to be out there running fucking early because if we can shoot a deer out our backyard, that's what we going to do. So we're out standing in the middle of the dirt road, glassing, looking for everything, freezing our ass off. Never saw nothing. Stepdad came down, and we jumped in with him, and we took off and started hunting for shit. And then we get like, I don't know, a mile away from the house, realized she doesn't have her deer license with her. So we turn back around, and I'm like, hey, where's your hunter safety card? I don't know. Oh, perfect. So we scrambled through the house for 20 minutes looking for that thing. Couldn't find it. Ended up having to order another one. So she has her temporary right now. It was a glorious start to the day. So we went over to an area where I'd shot my first deer last year and park on the side of the road. I'm like, I know there's deer in here. They're going to be coming up. And sure shit, like we're sitting there 5 minutes, just in the pickup on the side of the road. And we start glassing and see deer, and it's a buck, and he jumps over the fence, and he's walking across where we can shoot. She has a doe tag, by the way. And see another buck. And I'm like, okay, there has to be does somewhere in here. We watch those bucks trot along, eat, munch, hip hop around, do their thing, never even fucking look at us for about 3/4 of a mile till they jumped in another field into like a Milo field. No does. Well, that's fucking great. So we go driving around. We drive around for, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. And we decide to go down to the canyons, what we call the canyons. It's Carrizo Canyon. Drive through there, see some turkeys, and see some bighorn sheep, and see a doe and a fawn on shit that we cannot hunt because it costs $7,000. And then we keep driving, and we see another doe on the same stuff. So couldn't shoot those. Ended up hitting a public spot up there. Hiked in a couple miles, looked around, and she was a fucking trooper. She packed that rifle in her pack and her water and everything like that. And she plugged right along. So didn't see anything in there. Took off. Went home, ate lunch because nothing was happening. went back out that evening, and we were driving around, and the sun was fading pretty damn quick. So we're trying to hit a few spots, and we come across one little public piece, and I see a whitetail doe, and she is staring us down. Because if I slam on the brakes and I look, I'm like, oh, well, there's a doe. And she's looking at us, and she's probably 350, 400 off the road. And I told her, it's like, well, I want to check a couple more spots because we only got a few minutes of daylight left. And I guarantee you, as soon as we open the doors of this car, she's gonna bust, and we won't even have an opportunity to even try to poke at it. So she's like, okay. So we take off and see jack shit, and sun goes down, and then that was the end of Sunday. So yeah, no deer yet, but she's got another, I don't know, 10 days on her tag, so we can go out whenever she's got time and whenever I got time. But yeah,
sometimes it be like that.
mm-hmm. It was still a good time. Oh goddamn, she was so bored and tired. Getting up at 5 a.m. Oh, I discovered a new nifty thing, and that has nothing to do with my various hunts that I did this weekend. It is a battery pack, like the little USB battery pack that you can charge your phone off of. But it is also a hand warmer. It's got 3 different settings on it. It's like low, medium, high. And that son of a, you turn it on high, and it is a hot son of a bitch, and it lasts for 8 hours.
Is it made by Olight?
No. Although missed opportunity, Olight. But
that is an interesting thing.
Feature.
It's $10. Well, I got it for $10, but I think normally it's 20. But it's a slick little bastard and warm, and it's small. I mean, it's about the size of a hot hands, just a little bit thicker.
They need one that, okay, I'm imagining that, except it's like it fits down in your shoe. Like they need an element that's just really, really thin so you can just put it in your shoe. And when you stop and sit down, you can plug that sucker in and warm your feet up.
Milwaukee needs to come out with some insoles.
The Milwaukee heated footbed. That is interesting. Yeah, I want to. I keep forgetting things that happen to me. So I've been talking about my boots. They worked really great on the draw hunt. Like walking up and down the creek, my feet stayed dry in those. Now I did have the gaiters on over them, which helps keep water from just like flooding over the top of your boots real quick. And my feet stayed nice and dry and warm on that one. And then I was getting ready for the other hunt. I was packing stuff all day all evening on Friday. And then I got home on Saturday, and I'm throwing the last of the few things in the truck, making sure I got everything. And I get an hour down the road and realize I'm wearing my house shoes and that my hunting boots are by the back door just sitting there.
I was wondering whose shoes those were on that post.
I was like, I was really considering going and getting them, but I knew that like I was going to have a late night setting up camp anyway. And I was like, I do not want to turn around and just to go get my boots. And luckily my house shoes are a pair of slip-on Merrells with a Vibram sole and 200 grams of Thinsulate. So it's not like I'm really suffering, but it's also not really what I wanted to use.
You're hiking in your house.
Yeah. It turned out to be okay. I think I can walk quieter in them, but that's about the only redeeming quality of them. I did figure out though that I could take off the gaiters and the shoes at the same time without undoing the gaiters, because the shoes are slip-ons, so I could just undo the top of the gaiters and slip everything off and then slip them back on, and that turned out to work very nice. But I was mad that I didn't take my hunting boots with me and give them another run through the jungle. But yeah, that was, my son was poking fun at me like, "Hey, Dad, you left your shoes." Like, shut up, turd.
Good job, kid.
Why don't you help set up camp? Go dig the poop hole.
Oh, you have a dedicated one? I tend to, wait till I get away from camp. So I like to leave like a bread, like a little trail.
Oh no. We have the bucket that has the bottom cut out of it, and we got the toilet seat. We got the toilet seat, and you dig the hole, and you stuff all the stuff down in the hole, and then you cover it up whenever you leave. So one of my best investments thus far is a 12 by 24 foot canvas tarp that I string up over top of my campfire, tent, and my bathroom, so that even if it does rain out there, I have a nice covering over top of everything, and it's nice and dry there.
Well, that's just downright civilized. Okay, we crossed an hour and a half. I'm tired as all hell.
Yeah, I'm tired too.
I'm on call.
The level of energy in this room right now.
Especially with Dave, who's now a spinning circle.
Mm-hmm.
Going round, and now he's back.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, do we have any reviews out there?
Nope, I just checked. No new reviews. Send me reviews. I will send you a sticker. Something like that. No show. Actually, there'll be a show next week, but it'll probably be later in the week at some point. I don't know. We'll figure it out. People will be allowed to know. Y'all can live without us for a week, I think. If you can't, send me an email. I'll give you some tips and tricks. All right, let's see here. Yeah, send reviews. We like reviews. Gideon Optics affiliate coupon code LGH podcast to 10% off there. Comrade Camo. It should be Comradado. Comradado. Let's go hunt for 10% off of that.
5.
I forgot the number. 5. Okay, let's say 10
money off.
10 don't sound right.
Some monies.
And as always, that sounded way more energetic than I feel at the moment. Man, this podcast is just a downer. Support the sport and take a buddy hunting. If you like that, buddy, tell him about our show. If you don't, have him watch The View. It's probably more up his alley. Hit us up at lghpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to use lotion.
And let's go hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the same time, you can't hunt with dry hands. I mean, God, then you touch your nice, like your grid fleece, and it sticks to it. It's just like no good.
I think Brad Paisley wrote a song about that.
Oh, that's supposed to say my honey hole, not my hiney hole. My bad.